In this video on Buddhist teachings, we will reveal 8 types of people whom we absolutely should not help. 2 of them may particularly surprise you. However, before delving into the topic, listen to a story that will greatly contribute to understanding the lesson contained in this video. A long time ago, in a small Japanese village, there lived a farmer named Hiroshi, known for his kindness and willingness to help others. One day, Hiroshi found a snake trapped in a snare in his yard. Even though the snake could be dangerous, Hiroshi felt compassion and decided to free it, guided by Buddhist teachings about compassion toward all beings. Hiroshi took care of the snake, fed it, and provided it with a safe place to recover. However, as soon as the snake felt better, it bit Hiroshi and escaped. Hiroshi, wounded and shocked, regretting how the animal had treated him, recalled the words of the Buddha, who said, "The nature of all beings is just as it is. It cannot be changed, only understood." He realized that the snake's nature is such that it will bite regardless of how much help it has received. This story, like many other Buddhist tales, teaches us that some people, like that snake, do not change their nature no matter what. It reminds us of the Buddha's words, "Just as the lily is pure in the water, in the heart of man dwells both good and evil." Sometimes, in our desire to help, we may ignore important signs, which ultimately leads us to be hurt by others. It is important to know who we are helping and understand that not everyone will appreciate our efforts. Imagine your energy is like a battery. Some people recharge it while others drain it faster than a phone, with 1,000 apps running at once. Sound familiar? Each of us has encountered both types of people along the way. Let's take a look at these energy vampires and why it is so important to recognize them. Before continuing, if you find value in these videos, leave us a like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay informed about upcoming videos. Let's begin. Number 1. The envious. Imagine you just won the lottery. Who would you tell first? Before you start mentally listing all those people, let me share an interesting fact. According to a study by Harvard University in the United States, 70% of lottery winners experience a deterioration in their personal relationships after their victory. The main reason for this is envy. However, you don't need to win millions to experience the destructive effects of envy. From job promotions to a new relationship that makes you happy, the envious are always lurking, ready to fire their poisonous arrows of disapproval and resentment. Psychologist Sarah Prasai, in her book The Philosophy of Envy, suggests that envy arises when we perceive a gap between what we have and what we believe we deserve. It's as if we have an internal cosmic justice meter that goes haywire when someone else receives something we think should be ours. But here's something interesting. Envy is not necessarily bad. In fact, it can be a powerful motivator. As the famous inventor Thomas Edison once said, "To invent something new, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. Replace bad envy with motivation, and you have the recipe for success or disaster, depending on how you handle it." The key lies in how we react to envy, both ours and others. Here is one of the most counterintuitive yet effective tips. It goes like this. Keep your successes and plans secret. Yes, you heard that right. In an age where it seems like if you don't post something on social media, it didn't happen. I suggest you do the exact opposite. Why do I say this? As the great spiritual teacher Buddha said, silence is the most powerful answer to many questions. When you prematurely share your plans, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that's released when you actually achieve your goal. This can create a false sense of satisfaction, reducing your motivation to move forward. A study published in one of the most popular American journals showed that people who kept their goals secret were 67% more likely to achieve them than those who shared them widely. It's as if the universe had a twisted sense of humor. The more you talk about your dreams, the less likely they are to come true. When you share your plans, you're not only dealing with your own psychology, but also that of others. And this is where our envious friends come into play. As American writer and playwright Gore Vidal once said, "Every time a friend of mine succeeds, a little something in me dies." Multiply that by every person you tell your plans to, and you'll get an idea of the amount of negative energy you'll have to deal with. In Zen Buddhism, it is taught that every step on our path is an opportunity for learning. As Buddha said, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. In our relationships, with others, especially with the envious, we must be like water, flexible yet strong. Water may seem soft, but it has the power to carve through rock. Similarly, our behavior can influence others, even if our actions seem subtle. Envy can be transformed if we approach it with wisdom and compassion. In the end, a Zen master, Neku said, "All things are empty, but the city is full of all things." You can attract attention without even realizing it. So what should we do? Should we become hermits and keep all our achievements to ourselves? Not entirely. The key here is selectivity. As the author of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, said, "Keep your dreams away from negative people. People who don't have their own dreams will discourage yours." Treat your dreams and plans like a secret recipe. You wouldn't give it to just anyone, right? You'd only share it with those you trust completely. Those who won't just refrain from betraying you, but will help you improve it. In the spirit of Zen, when you decide to share your plans or successes, do so in a way that inspires, rather than provokes envy. Instead of saying, "I just got an amazing promotion," try saying, "I'm excited about this new challenge at work." The difference may seem subtle, but the impact on how others perceive your message can be huge. The ancient Chinese philosopher and creator of Taoism, Lao Tzu, reminds us that words have the power to create reality. Choose your words wisely. So, how do we recognize our envious friends? Here are some warning signs that can help. The reluctant flatterer. Their compliments are more forced than a smile at a dinner with your in-laws. The professional minimizer. No matter how great your achievement is, to them it's always just luck or something insignificant. The compulsive competitor. Your success is just an excuse for them to tell you how they did it better, faster, or cheaper. The hidden saboteur. Publicly, they cheer you on, but privately they do everything possible to ruin your plans. The information collector. They always want more details, not out of genuine interest, but to find flaws or copy you. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to protecting yourself. The second is to develop what I call a bamboo mind. Do you know what makes bamboo grow strong and resilient? It transforms difficulties and adversity into strength and flexibility. As Zen philosophy says, every obstacle is an opportunity to practice. Similarly, you can use the envy of others as motivation to keep growing and improving. Remember, your value does not decrease because of others' achievements, nor does it increase because of their failures. As former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. Focus on your own path, your own goals, and your own development. Zen Buddhist philosophy teaches that the path to enlightenment is personal, and each must walk it for themselves. As Zen master Shunryu Suzuki said, each of us must cross our own ocean by ourselves. Envy often reflects others' insecurity. The next time you sense an envious gaze, smile. Not because you enjoy someone's discomfort, but because you've spotted a sign that you're on the right path. In the spirit of Zen, smile with compassion, understanding that others' envy is an expression of their own suffering. In summary, being selective about whom you share your successes and plans with is not a matter of selfishness or arrogance, but of protecting your energy, maintaining your motivation, and shielding yourself from toxic envy. The next time you have great news or an emotional plan, take a deep breath, smile to yourself, and treat it like your most precious treasure. Decide to share it only with those who will genuinely be happy for your success. Remember, the greatest success is the one others notice on their own and doesn't need to be shouted from the rooftops. Let your achievements speak for themselves. In the end, actions always speak louder than words, and they definitely attract less envy. Number 2, the manipulators. This group presents a special challenge because such people are true artists in the art of manipulating the goodwill of others. They use sincere attempts at help to serve their own interests, without the slightest intention of reciprocating or showing any real improvement. Imagine you're playing chess, but your opponent has the secret ability to move your pieces without you knowing. That's the strategy of an experienced manipulator. Don't worry if you're just now realizing that there might be someone like this in your circle. Today we'll learn how to recognize their tricks and defend ourselves from their cunning. As Zen Master Shunryu Suzuki said, the most important thing is to find a balance between calm and action. When dealing with a manipulator, it's crucial to remain calm and be aware of your actions. Manipulators use our emotions to achieve their own goals. In Zen, we learn that awareness is the key to understanding the true nature of reality. We must be aware of our thoughts and emotions so as not to be swept away by their games. Why do some people seem to have a PhD in manipulation? Psychology has some interesting answers. According to a study conducted by one of the most well-known universities in the United States, people with narcissistic and Machiavellian traits are more likely to manipulate others. It's as if they have an internal GPS programmed to find the shortest route to their interests, no matter who they have to step over. I'm not saying you should wear a tinfoil hat and trust no one, but it is important to develop your radar for emotional pirates. As the famous psychologist and author of Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, Robert Cialdini said, "The best defense against manipulation is knowledge and awareness." Think of your emotional well-being as a fortress that must be protected at all costs. Manipulators are like invaders trying to breach your defenses. If you don't have a good security system, before you know it, they'll be sitting in your living room, eating your snacks, and controlling your life with the remote control. How to recognize a manipulator. Here are some warning signs. The emotional chameleon. They change their personality faster than a teenager changes moods. Their behavior varies depending on who they're with, adapting to what they think that person wants to see. As Zen master, Doan said, "Every moment is invaluable. Don't waste it on superficial games." The gaslighting expert. They make you doubt your own perception of reality. "Are you sure it happened that way? I think your memory is failing. You should take something to improve it." These are just some examples of what they say. In Zen, we learn that reality is subjective, but the truth always resides within ourselves. We must trust our intuition and not let others distort it. Be aware, pause, and reflect carefully to ensure you're not dealing with this kind of person. The self-esteem sniper. These people often make comments that seem innocent, but undermine your confidence. For example, "Are you really going to wear that?" Well, if you feel comfortable, the goal of people who make these kinds of remarks is to divert attention from their own shortcomings and insecurities. With these people, cut off the conversation immediately and set clear boundaries. React promptly. Otherwise, each additional comment will affect you more. Remember your inner worth and don't give others the chance to question it without reason. From the Zen perspective, it's important to develop inner strength and tranquility. As Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said, "Without inner peace, it is not possible to have outer peace." If we are not calm within ourselves, manipulators can easily disrupt our balance. That's why meditation and mindfulness are key to dealing with manipulation. Through meditation, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without attachment, which allows us to respond in a more conscious and controlled way. Number 3, the ungrateful. Have you ever met someone who seems to have a black hole instead of a heart? These are the people who, no matter how much you give them, always want more and are never satisfied. Imagine you're at a restaurant, enjoying a delicious dinner with friends, when suddenly you hear someone loudly complaining about the food, the service, even the color of the napkins. Yes, you guessed it. It's a professional ingrate in action. In Buddhist wisdom, there's a saying, "Everything is in the mind." So, what makes some people seem eternally dissatisfied? Psychology has some interesting answers. According to a study conducted by the University of California, people with low self-esteem tend to be less grateful. It's as if they have a filter that only lets negative things through, blocking out all the good that life offers. I'm not saying you should cut all ties with anyone who forgets to say thank you. But it's important to recognize when someone is consistently taking advantage of your kindness. As the famous entrepreneur Richard Branson said, "Treat your employees how you want them to treat your best customers." We can extend this advice to all our relationships. Think of gratitude like a plant. It needs to be watered and cared for in order to grow. If you're constantly giving water, your time, energy, and resources to a plant that, despite this, doesn't bloom or bear fruit, maybe it's time to consider whether you're cultivating in the wrong garden. As Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught, gratitude is the heart of true Zen practice. When we appreciate the moment and the people in our lives, we transform each moment into a valuable gift. However, be careful not to confuse ingratitude with constructive honesty. The friend who tells you that you have spinach in your teeth before an important date isn't ungrateful. They're a capeless hero. The difference lies in intention and behavioral pattern. A fascinating study published in a U.S. scientific journal showed that people are not only happier, but also have stronger and longer-lasting relationships when they practice gratitude in their lives. It's as if gratitude were an invisible glue that holds our social connections together. So what should we do with these types of people? The answer isn't simple, but we can take some lessons from positive psychology. Martin Seligman, considered the father of this branch of psychology, suggests that cultivating a grateful attitude benefits not only the recipient, but also the giver. Instead of getting frustrated with the ungrateful, we can see them as an opportunity to strengthen our own ability to appreciate the good things in life. Just as we physically train our legs or back at the gym, training our gratitude muscle works the same way. However, let's not confuse being grateful with being a bottomless pit. Setting healthy boundaries is just as important as being generous. As the writer Brené Brown said, generosity is not infinite, and it's not true if it comes from resentment. Remember, a lack of gratitude says more about them than it does about you. As psychologist Carl Rogers said, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Next time you encounter someone ungrateful, take a deep breath, remember your worth, and ask yourself whether that person deserves your energy. If the answer is no, it's time to walk away. You're not being selfish, you're practicing self-care. And by taking care of yourself first, you're better equipped to care for others. If you choose to continue helping, do so because you genuinely want to, not because you expect recognition. Before we move on to the fourth type of person, share this video with your loved ones and anyone you think should see it. Also, write in the comments, "Every day I grow wiser," to show me you're still here with me, and to inspire others in this shared journey of learning. Number 4, lazy people. Have you ever met someone who seems allergic to effort? People who always have an excuse to do nothing, as if the couch were their natural habitat and the remote control an extension of their hand. Welcome to the fascinating world of the lazy, masters of the art of doing nothing, who teach us valuable lessons about productivity, or rather, the lack thereof. Imagine you're in a work meeting and someone says, "I couldn't finish the report because my cat ate my motivation." Yes, you guessed it. It's a professional slacker in action. So what makes some people seem like they have a PhD in procrastination? Science has some interesting answers. According to a study from one of the top universities in the US, laziness might be a strategy to conserve energy. Like our caveman ancestors passed down a genetic energy-saving mode. But in today's world, where we no longer need to conserve energy to escape predators, this strategy can become counterproductive. As 20th century psychologist William James said, "Nothing is so fatiguing as the eternal hanging on of an uncompleted task." In Zen Buddhism, there's a teaching about mindfulness and being fully present in the moment. As Zen master Shunryu Suzuki used to say, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, in the expert's mind, there are few. Laziness is often a way to avoid presence and full engagement. When we think we already know everything about a subject, we often stop dedicating the same energy and attention we once did. That's why in Zen practice, we're encouraged to commit fully to each action, no matter how small. This reminds me of the story of a Zen monk who would carefully and mindfully sweep the monastery grounds every day. When asked why he gave so much importance to such a mundane task, he replied, "When I sweep the path, I also sweep my mind, making it clear and clean. So instead of supporting others' laziness, we can encourage them to fully engage in their actions, teaching them that every moment and every task is a valuable opportunity for practice and growth. Recognizing and avoiding support for those who dodge effort is an act of compassion, both for ourselves and for others. As Buddha said, you will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. The same applies to laziness. Avoiding effort and responsibility leads to suffering and stagnation for the lazy person and for those who try to support them. So, how do we recognize someone who's chronically lazy? Here are a few warning signs. Type 1, the king of excuses. These people have more excuses than a cat has lives. I couldn't go to the gym because my plant needed me to sing to it so it would grow. In Buddhism, excuses are like illusions that separate us from true understanding. As Zen Master Shunryu Suzuki said, the most important thing is to know that you have the nature of a Buddha. That means nothing limits you. Type 2, the I'll do it tomorrow. Expert. For them, tomorrow is a magical place where all the unfinished tasks go to wait forever. Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh said, "The future depends on the present. If we take good care of the present moment, the future will take care of itself." Type 3, the lazy multitasker. These are the people watching Netflix, scrolling Facebook, and complaining about their workload all at once. If they invested that energy into being productive, they might solve global warming. In Zen teachings, the unity of mind and action is key. As the Zen saying goes, when you walk, walk. When you eat, eat. Type 4, the shortcut. Seeker always looking for the easiest way to do things. If there were an app to breathe for them, they'd be the first to download it. In Buddhism, looking for shortcuts is chasing illusions. As Zen Master Doan said, the path is perfect and ever-present. As soon as you stop searching, you realize you're already where you're supposed to be. Type 5, the chronic procrastinator. For these people, the alarm clock is just a friendly suggestion. 5 more minutes, they say, and an hour passes by. In Buddhist philosophy, the clock symbolizes that time is an illusion, but our responsibility for each moment is real. I'm not saying you need to cut off everyone who'd rather take a nap than hit the gym. But remember, John Dart, surrounding yourself with lazy people can lead you to become just as lazy. As motivational speaker Tony Robbins said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose your company wisely, because you might end up being the only healthy tooth in a mouthful of cavities. In summary, in our desire to help others, we must be mindful of whom we offer our energy to. It's not about refusing help to everyone, but about helping with wisdom and discernment, ensuring our efforts are truly valuable. and benefit both ourselves and those we support. Number 5, the irresponsible. Have you ever met someone who seems to live in a world without consequences? Welcome to the fascinating universe of the irresponsible. Experts at avoiding commitments and blaming everyone and everything but themselves. Imagine you're on a boat, and suddenly you see a hole in the hull where water starts pouring in, while you and the rest of the crew desperately try to plug the hole and bail out the water. You see someone sunbathing on the deck saying, "Not my problem. I didn't make the hole." That, my friend, is irresponsibility in its natural habitat. When we try to help someone with this behavior pattern, we often fall into a cycle of frustration and anxiety. No matter how much we try to support them, our help rarely leads to meaningful progress. The irresponsible, as their name implies, avoid responsibility and possess an almost Olympic ability to blame others for their failures. If something goes wrong, even if it's completely unrelated to our actions, we may still be pointed at as the ones to blame. This is not only unfair, but can also have significant emotional and reputational impacts on those trying to help these individuals. Therefore, it is crucial to adopt a cautious approach when dealing with this type of person. An effective strategy is to invite such a person to reflect on their actions and the consequences they bring. Instead of solving their problems for them, we can direct their attention toward developing self-assessment and self-management skills. A well-known American neuroscientist, Richard Davidson, has demonstrated that the brain is extremely plastic and capable of change and adaptation, even in adulthood. So there is hope, although these individuals often need a gentle push, or sometimes a push the size of an elephant. As Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." In this context, education encompasses not only academic knowledge, but also the ability to take responsibility and learn from mistakes. Ultimately, dealing with irresponsible people is an exercise in patience and self-control. As the philosopher Bertrand Russell said, "The trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt." In Buddhism, we also often repeat that helping others is the path to enlightenment, but only when it is wise help. So the next time you face a chronically irresponsible person, take a deep breath and remember that at least you have the awareness to doubt whether you should keep helping them. Number 6, the eternal critic. They have a talent for finding flaws in every situation or person. From your choice of clothes to how you do your job or care for your home and family. Identifying them can be as simple as listening to their conversations. Their comments are often negative and destructive. If this sounds familiar, you're probably dealing with a chronic critic in your life. Dealing with them can be like navigating an emotional minefield. No matter how good your intentions are, they will always find a way to dismantle them with their sharp criticism. What makes them this way? Research suggests that chronic critics often use criticism as a way to establish power, control over others, and even to project their own insecurities. It's as if they wear special glasses that allow them to see only flaws in everything. To counteract their negative influence, it's essential to maintain a balanced perspective. As Zen master Taizen Deshimaru said, true strength lies in a calm mind. Don't take their criticism personally. Often their words say more about themselves than about you. Try to redirect the conversation toward positive aspects or constructive solutions. Sometimes a simple change of subject can be the best defense against their verbal attacks. Remember, constructive criticism can be helpful for personal growth, but chronic criticism only erodes self-esteem and undermines confidence. Setting clear boundaries and maintaining a positive attitude can protect you from their negative influence while also promoting a healthier and more constructive environment around you. Number 7. The narcissist. Have you ever met someone who seems to have a mirror instead of a soul? Welcome to the fascinating world of narcissists, beings whose self-love occupies all the top spots on the podium. Imagine trying to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool with just one glass of water. That's how useless trying to satisfy a narcissist's ego can feel. Don't worry, because on this journey, you're definitely not alone. According to studies from a prestigious university in the US, approximately 6% of the population displays significant narcissistic traits. This means you've probably encountered at least 1 or 2 people like this in your lifetime. How can you identify these self-worshippers? If you've ever met someone who believes the sun rises just to shine on their face, you're probably dealing with a narcissist. These people have a remarkable ability to turn every conversation into a monologue about their achievements, no matter how irrelevant they may be. Dealing with a narcissist can be more exhausting than trying to teach a cat to bark. But don't lose hope. There are strategies you can apply. It's not about changing the narcissist, but about changing how you interact with them. One effective tactic is what psychologists call selective validation. It's a bit like training a dog. You reinforce the narcissist's positive behaviors and ignore the negative ones. When the narcissist shows a bit of empathy, which occasionally happens, acknowledge it. However, when they start putting on their usual performance, don't play along. Remember, you're not obligated to be a captive audience to their one-person show. In Zen, we learn that true happiness comes from accepting who we are. Don't allow others to impose their expectations and values on you. Be aware of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and you'll find the inner peace that allows you to better handle manipulation, criticism, and narcissism. A best-selling author in the field of psychology once said that the ego is an insatiable octopus that feeds on your life. A Zen master would say that the ego is like a hungry ghost in samsara, always wanting more and never finding comfort. Don't let narcissism in your life become that octopus or that ghost. But be careful not to confuse healthy confidence with narcissism. As Zen masters say, confidence is like a still lake reflecting the beauty of the sky, while narcissism is like a stormy ocean that destroys everything in its path. The difference lies in the capacity for empathy and the constant need for admiration. A self-confident person can genuinely enjoy others' successes, like a monk in Zen who rejoices in the awakening of his fellow practitioners. A narcissist, on the other hand, sees those same successes as a threat to their own greatness. Dealing with a narcissist can be challenging, but also an opportunity to strengthen your patience and compassion. Observing a narcissist can teach us much about the nature of desire and illusion. Through that observation, we can see the reflection of our own inner barriers and struggles, allowing us to draw conclusions and grow personally. Number 8. The opportunist imagine encountering someone who always seems to be lurking, waiting for every chance to gain something at the expense of others, regardless of the consequences. That's the opportunist, someone who skillfully takes advantage of others' generosity or resources without offering anything in return, except their own comfort. As Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said, happiness is only possible when we stop expecting it to come from the outside and begin creating it from within. Opportunists, however, seek happiness outside themselves, in the resources of others, without realizing that true happiness can only be found within. But don't confuse an opportunist with someone who truly needs help. The difference lies in their behavioral pattern and their ability to reciprocate. As a psychologist from Harvard University notes, opportunists are experts at making you feel guilty when you don't meet their expectations. In Buddhism, it's said that guilt and shame should be understood and transformed, rather than allowed to control our lives. Spotting an opportunist can be tricky, as they often hide their true intentions behind a facade of collaboration and mutual benefit. A key sign to identify them is the lack of reciprocity. They always receive help, but rarely return the favor or collaborate equally. Dealing with an opportunist requires setting clear boundaries and being aware of your own resources and personal limits. As Zen Master Dogen said, understanding the limits of your power is the beginning of true strength. It's crucial to set clear expectations from the beginning. Define what you're willing to offer and what you expect in return. Promoting reciprocity is also essential here. Encourage the opportunist to contribute equally to the relationship, whether by sharing responsibilities or clearly defining roles and expectations. From a psychological perspective, opportunists reflect a combination of low empathy and high opportunism. As Zen Buddhist master Chogyam Trungpa said, true compassion is selfless and expects nothing in return. By understanding how to identify and manage opportunists, you can protect your emotional integrity and maintain healthier, more equitable relationships. It's true that giving and receiving are fundamental in any healthy relationship. But when you realize you're always giving and never receiving anything in return, it's time to reconsider the situation. Investing energy and effort in people who undervalue your contribution can be emotionally draining. It's better to direct that energy toward more fair and fulfilling relationships, where your actions are recognized and valued. As Japanese Zen master Ikkyu once said, life is too short to waste it with people who can't see your light.